Paranormal in Pennsylvania may discuss topics such as suicide, murder, and other potentially upsetting things. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, and welcome to Paranormal in Pennsylvania,
where we discuss history and haunts.
Today we are wrapping up season 4.
I'm Sarah.
I'm David.
And I'm Erica.
Let's get into it. This season, we're being sponsored by our friends at Haunted US. They travel the country bringing you real stories of American hauntings every Thursday at hauntedus.com. All right, 4 seasons, 2 years of Paranormal in Pennsylvania. Did you guys ever think we would make it this far?
Maybe, yeah. I guess I guess when we first started looking, I thought that maybe there weren't there were going to be haunted locations in Pennsylvania, but 2 years. But really, what sounds like more grand to me is 4 seasons. That's far more than I expected we might have gotten.
Yeah, I didn't when we started it, I didn't think, oh, I think there's going to be an end point. I kind of thought, okay, we'll just keep going. But now that we've done 4 seasons, that number is kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, 104 episodes. That's crazy. And I also thought eventually we're going to have to tap out because we're going to run out of haunted places. Because I thought, okay, well, we're going to kill Gettysburg in the first season. We're going to, do Philly season 2, get all these big locations. But I checked and our list of sites to be covered is 132 long, and that doesn't include anywhere we've covered or anywhere that's already on our schedule. So it's all through listener referrals pretty much. I get 5 a day, which is great.
Yes.
That is really good.
Those smaller places too, I feel like some of them have the most interesting histories to them.
Yes, me too. And the haunts can be so funny of the smaller ones because it's not oh, it's Gettysburg Battlefield where there's a million different ghosts. It's Harold's Haunt where there's one specific homophobic ghost.
Yeah.
With that being said, what was your favorite episode of season 4?
So I know one that stands out for me is is Harold's Haunt 1, but additionally Westchester University out of Pennsylvania, San Antonio, Texas, and then for the other university. Which one was it? Slippery Rock.
I was going to say we did a lot of universities this season.
Yeah, you're right. That was not helpful at all to say which university. Am I thinking of Slippery? Oh, the Slippery Rock might have been my favorite.
That's
overall.
with Emma.
Yes.
Yeah. What about you, Erica? What was your favorite?
I think honestly my all-time favorite was the St. Nicholas Church one, just because I do still have images in my head of us being there at night and then someone coming over and us being like, well, we were just waiting for mass. That was one of my favorite moments, I think, of season 4. But I also really liked the Twin Valley tunnels. Yeah, I thought the three, because there were 3 of them, right?
Yeah.
And one of them was closed. Yeah, I thought that story was really interesting. And I always think just roads being haunted is an interesting feat.
Yeah, and that's another one that who would have thought of that? But that was probably our first real true crimey episode with the murders and stuff.
Yeah.
I think my favorite was the haunted theme parks just because the haunts were so different than what I had expected. I thought that it was going to be oh, people died on the rides, and it was oh, this carousel is haunted. So they were really
Same.
interesting. And I also really liked the Storm Witch of Lake Erie, in part because I think the story was just unique and different, and in part because I think of mine and Erica's conversations from the episode of where Erica was like, well, maybe you just have to become friends with her and then she'll be nice. And I'm like, the rhyme says she drags you into her cave to be at a forever prom, and we don't need to be nice to her.
Yeah. Valid. It's a fair point.
Yeah, and the other thing from that episode is Erica won't get on a boat but will go see the storm hag if I remember right.
I don't see, there was a distinction there. There was a distinction there, and I don't remember what it was now. But what I was saying sounded like what you were saying. But then I had to clarify what I meant. Oh, I was saying if there was a way for us to safely, from a distance, communicate with her to figure
Hmm.
out what her motives were, then I would do that. But I would not get on a boat. No.
Yeah, and I think you were like, I'd go to the edge of the water, but
Mm.
not on a boat.
Yeah, right. Like within striking distance was my whole point with that. Like, yeah, I'd go to the
Fair.
edge of the water and it's like, okay, you supernatural creature, definitely gonna grab you.
Well, I
Yeah, but
can
I feel
run at
like,
least.
yeah, and I feel like she was only active in the depths. Like she didn't really take people from shore. Oh, I guess she did lure people down though.
Yeah, maybe I would end up getting on a boat if I did that by accident.
But it was specifically captains, right? You're not a captain.
Well, maybe in a past life.
They're like, she has captain potential.
Yeah, she has leadership skills. Why don't we just bring her out? It's fine.
Well,
You like give the Storm Witch your resume. You're like, let me know what you think.
yeah,
Oh
with the
man.
whole captain thing, I was thinking on the sidelines, like, does it does she lure how does she lure the captain? Does she like quietly observe and watch who's the captain? Like how does she
Ooh.
select the target there? How does she distinguish who's a captain,
Oh.
who's not? Because there's a lot of ships that are in that lake.
I considered it just like a innate knowledge thing. Like she's just the Storm Witch. She just knows.
Oh, fair. Okay.
But I don't know. And I thought you were saying, how does she lure them to the depths? And I think that's part of what we debated. Is she like a siren, or how would she convince people?
She kind of feels like like a kid's Halloween idea in a way. No, hear me out. Hear me out. Because we were debating whether or not she's a siren or she's a witch. And it's kind of like that child's like fantasy. And it's like, oh, are you a ninja? No, I'm a cowboy ninja astronaut.
Well, she kind of is though. Like,
Yeah.
because she's a witch because she can summon storms, but she
Right.
lures people, so she's a siren, but she also kind of shapeshifts. So
So
all of the
just a
above.
druid.
Yeah, right. So she was also my scariest paranormal claim of season 4, I think, because the bodies have never been found. But what about you guys? What do you think was the scariest paranormal claim of the season? And for the listeners, it should be said that I wrote these questions and got to think of them ahead of time. And Erica and David are reacting in real time.
So I don't know. The Storm Hag certainly has its like moments of like if it was like very scary or it could be really scary. But I struggle because
What
we
about
I
you,
don't
Erica? Do you have a
oh,
I
scariest?
I have two that I think are pretty eerie. Hexenkopf Rock. I know that a
yeah.
lot of people were healed there, but because of that, there's so much negativity in this rock that I think being there would be kind of eerie, maybe a little scary.
Hmm.
And the Witch's Triangle of Berwick that we just talked about, that is kind of crazy that it's like the where you're just like stuck, once you get in there and there's all these paranormal happenings, especially it being in the woods. I mean, I'm already, and I think most people do make up noises in my head when I'm scared. And I think the fact that those might be real would make it worse.
Hmm.
Yeah, so certainly like the Witch's Triangle then came into mind, mainly because it's eerily creepy rather than like this is a ghost that means business and like scary, kind of violent scary. It's like this patch of earth in a triangle that has never healed, never gotten worse. It's just very contained.
Yeah. And the history, the alleged history that goes with it. I will say once we posted our episode, we did have some people say like there's no proof of some of these claims, and you know, that's why we say allegedly in the episode, because I don't have proof that witches were hung there. I don't have proof that the KKK met there. But if those things are true, the history alone of the space is terrifying. Because what are the odds that they would end up in the exact same location?
I mean, I think that like the Witch's Triangle of Berwick has a lot of potential to have like as paranormal aspects to it, but it does seem to have like a lot of folkloric aspects as well.
Hmm.
So like when you
Hmm.
get those
Yeah.
mixes, like when you say like you can't prove it, it's like yeah, you kind of can't prove the folklore either. Like any folklore tale, usually.
Well, that's like Hex and Comp Rock. Like they're in the same category to me of like local legend, folklore, woodsy. But that's what makes them both scary is you can't prove or disprove anything about it.
Yeah, nature is scary at dark.
And that's I was
Yes.
gonna say also Butler Black Cross is has one of the scariest claims to me, which is the feeling of people wanting to pull you underground. Because I think overall it's just a sad story. I didn't have any negative experiences there, but the idea that these people are so angry about how they were treated in death that they want to physically pull you underground with them is terrifying if you feel it. And also that like the trees are reaching out to grab you. Again, it's like the eerie woods type thing. Maybe we're all
Yeah.
biased. We are city folk who hate the woods. No, but we like the woods.
No,
We go
I
hiking
like
all
the
the
Yeah,
woods.
time.
we go hiking.
No, it's just the you know late at night, you don't know what else is in the forest with you.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and that's part of what we said in the Witch's Triangle episode. I'm equally scared of the paranormal claims and an axe murderer that's hiding in the house because,
Yes.
you don't know if you're at like Villanova University, for example, the odds of there being an axe murderer seem less in theory than if you're in the middle of the woods.
Yeah,
But
even
that
though
also
like
could just be watching horror movies.
right, I was about to say that seems like a horror movie. Like to you, it seems less, but like wouldn't the probability rise with more people that you're around that somebody there is an axe murderer versus like the woods where you have maybe one other human being in the woods at a time? Well, depending where you
I
are.
think I would rather be murdered in a group of people if we're actually getting into this discussion than I would be than I would be in the woods alone. Like if I was in a group of people and something came at us, I think I would feel even if we failed, I would at least be less scared in my last moments of life because I
Hmm.
was with other people than in the woods with just one other person.
So wait, do you think
Strength
that the
in
axe murderer
numbers.
just like strikes you down and then is like, now you guys can like hover over her and be there for her in her
No, no,
final moments? That's fine.
She just
no,
means
I'm
it's
just
the sensation of being alone. Because, okay, imagine
yes.
the three of us in the woods. And, okay, first of all, if it's the three of us in the woods, I'm just going to say it. I think I have the best odds because I think if David's going to pick someone to protect, it's going to be me.
Yeah,
So I feel like I have the best odds. But that aside, if we were running, like if someone was chasing us and it was just the three of us in the woods, the odds of us getting split up and then dying literally alone are so much higher than if you were to be somewhere, even any of these places, the Palace Theater, the Mashulu, in a group and something happened. And again, I'm not trying to say that I want any of this to happen, but I see what you're saying, Erica. It's like the odds of getting separated because it's not a contained area and it's
yeah,
not frequented is so much
yeah.
higher. And that makes it scarier, I think.
Okay. I haven't you seen horror movies where people get cornered in the building and they're with a big group because like they just scattered and started running and you picked the direction nobody else did, and so the killer's like, "Hi, you're number one."
Well, what are the rules? It's like don't run to the chainsaws, don't run to the
Yes.
showers. If you kill the killer, chop their head off. Don't let them lay there and think you knocked them out with a shovel because they're gonna
Yeah.
get back up.
Yeah. Also, or if you like really don't want to kill the killer,
I
maybe
do.
like once you hit them in the shovel and they're out cold, tie their body up. You know, like really restrain them and don't
What
do like
kind
a
of weird
flimsy.
logic is that?
Well, because then if you know you're not going to kill them, that means they will wake up. So I would not be the if you're a person that is morally opposed to killing, then you'd want to restrain them rather than be like, well, hopefully we can get away before they wake up. It's like you have no idea what that time frame is. That could be 15 seconds from now. That could be 30 minutes from now.
Erica, what's your take? Are you team restrain or team chop their head off?
No, I'm team chop their head off. David, I fully understand what you're saying. I'm sure there are people out there who would not want to kill. But I think for me, if someone's coming after me, then all bets are off. And I say that because like my anxiety, if I left them alive, would follow me for the rest of my life, that they were just going to appear in front of me at some point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
or they
David,
go to
you are the
jail.
person in the horror movie that doesn't follow the rules. And so, like, we're running through the Berwick Triangle, and Erica and I are hiding together, and you come back, you're like, guys, don't worry. I got it. I took care of it. And we're like, oh, like, you chopped their head off, and you're like, no, I tied them up. And
I'm not
then
saying
what
this would be
happens
my
30 minutes later
choice.
in the movie? 30 minutes later in the movie, we all die because the killer got out of the ropes.
Yeah, this was not my choice, but I could just see like people do it in horror movies all the time where
Hmm.
they're like, oh, we can't kill him. But also to what Erica said is like wondering like what they're doing. Like, what if they go to jail and then like you try to keep them in jail and then they get out of jail and then they
Right.
say see you soon.
Yeah, I don't want that.
No. We have very deviated from the paranormal.
Right. You should focus back in, I guess.
Yeah, I will. I'll reel us back in.
Hi, listeners! We're so excited to tell you about our partnership with Haunted US. Haunted US is an online publication that brings you credible articles on the history and specific paranormal claims of haunted locations across the country. We've even used them to research some of our episodes. Visit hauntedus.com for new haunted places every Thursday.
So our seasons are spread over 6 months. So we have obviously real life going on at the same time. So what has been either your favorite location that you've visited or favorite paranormal part of the past 6 months? And this can include places that we might have visited but haven't covered yet, just for the sake of discussion. Or it could be like something you learned or something you saw or whatever.
I really enjoyed our experience at the Omni Bedford Springs Resort. Oh no, that we didn't cover that yet either, have we? Not the Omni Bedford, the one we did with Brandon,
The Grand Midway.
Grand Midway.
Erica
Yeah,
and I were like, let's ride it out. Let's see what he says. I was like, when did we go?
we did go. You just weren't there.
Yeah, you two went.
Yeah, you're pregnant. I mean, what do you want?
Pregnant people can't go to hotels. Everybody knows that.
Right? You can't travel.
No.
But the Grand Midway was your favorite.
Yes,
Is that what
yes,
you're
the Grand
saying?
Midway.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I really liked the Grand Midway Hotel. This was our first like hunt ghost hunt as a group, so that was fun. And you know, it was very interesting to actually to do the to interact with the instruments and try to interact with the paranormal
Mhm.
there.
Yeah. What about you, Erica?
Yeah, I would say that one too. I think our trip to Larry's Roadhouse was fun, even though it was short. I just thought that was a really cool part of town that I had not really stopped in before because it's like on that major highway. But the hotel was just so cool. And yeah, getting to learn how to use everything was awesome.
Mhm.
Like Brandon being really informative and teaching us how to really do an investigation was really cool. And I don't even think that I got to tell you guys this because I forgot. But when I went to my orthodontist appointment, my tech was like talking to the person next to the tech next to her, and she was saying that she was from Winbar, PA. And
Oh my
this is like
gosh.
the week after we did the investigation. So I like sat up and was like, the wind bar with the Grand Midway. And then I was like talking to them about it. And apparently it is like a big thing in that town. Like everybody knows that it's like a haunted place. So It was interesting.
That's interesting. Yeah, I was also going to say not even just the investigation, but I think the whole weekend with Brandon, who for listeners is the creator, owner of Haunted US, which is a website that focuses on the history and haunts of various locations, and they have places all across the United States. And I think it was just so cool that through this podcast that we've only been doing for 2 years, which is a long time, but at the same time not, we were able to make a real life friend who is interested in hauntings the same way as we are. And that's what I think made the investigation so successful and made it so fun to, hang out all weekend because we respect the history and we're not just there for like the cheap scares or anything. Because I was thinking at the Grand Midway, I remember sitting there and when we were doing the EVP session on the top floor, and I don't want to give away too much, but like looking at some of the documents that they had printed out and using that to inform our questions. So I think because we're so aligned in how we look at stuff, that's what made it such a fun weekend. And it's nice to make like real life friends through the podcast.
Yes, definitely.
I finally have friends.
It's finally not the three of us. We can have more people in our Woods horror movie in the Berwick Triangle now.
Yeah.
We just have to convince Brandon to go with us.
I
I'm
so
sure
desperately
he
want to go back
would.
to that topic now. Of like, what is the threshold of people where it's you're less likely to die alone in a forest.
I don't know.
I think
He grew,
even one person with me. I'm saying like having the camaraderie, even if it's just one person of you not being alone, at least at first, is better to me than the thought of me walking around the forest by myself.
well, and that's kind of true of any investigation, right? Like doing the single EVP sessions is valuable, no doubt. But that's when it starts to feel really spooky when you're in those rooms on your own. But even when we split off into twos, it was like, well, at least we have someone with us.
Yeah.
So, final question. What are you most looking forward to for season 5?
The new podcast setup we'll have.
Yeah, new tech.
Yeah, new tech, new room, better positioning, so it can really work sound and such as well. That'll be good.
Mhm. What about you, Erica?
I think so. Editing wise, I just started using Premiere Pro, which I'm excited about continuing, especially because now I can do it on my laptops, which means I can take it to work with me or do it like at lunch break. Like it's great. It's so much better than having to do it at my computer. So I'm excited to like have a full season on Adobe Premiere
Yeah.
and it won't be like split up. But also I am actually so excited for us to talk about the Grand Midway Hotel like in
hmm
full. I think that is going to be so much fun to get to talk about together.
Yeah, that's what I have listed. One of my things. I have two things I'm excited for. One is the season opener, which is going to be Grand Midway, just because for the viewers, I guess, or listeners, we all left at different times that morning. So it's not like we sat down for a team debrief. And like, yeah, we might have talked about it in passing and we did some follow up with Brandon, but we haven't discussed it at length, the three of us yet, and any experiences that might not have, you know, come to light that night. So I'm excited for that episode. And I like when it's the three of us.
Yeah.
The other
Yeah,
thing I'm excited for is some of our already planned investigations that we have of different places because I think it's so cool to continue to hone like skills that we've learned and to rather than, either rushing through the location on a historical tour, trying to secretly use our equipment and, take a bunch of pictures and capture EVPs, we can have dedicated time to these locations. And I think as we're doing that more and more, it's going to strengthen our episodes. And also, obviously, we're interested in this. So it's going to be
Mhm.
fun.
yeah, that's going to be fun as we get one better at doing this, and then two really start dabbling in the other things such as like going to spooky locations. I mean, like I want to put my equipment everywhere
Mhm.
with permission, of course. It'll be a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
it's something certainly to look forward to. Though, the only thing that kind of is poopy about that though is we're coming up on winter and a lot of places close for the winter too. So
Well,
some of
we
those
already have
opportunities
two
might be less.
investigations, though.
Right.
Like, we have two investigations scheduled already.
Right. I'm not trying to like poo poo next season. I'm poo pooing the winter season, but I love winter. So it's
I
real,
don't.
yeah, really
So,
conflicted.
fall. I'm a fall girl. October
Yes.
is my
Fall and
peak
winter.
power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's all the questions I had. Anything to add about season four?
I guess one question for you, Sarah, was the Mashulo ship Mashulo. Yeah, Mashulo. Was that your favorite location in terms of how pretty it was?
Yeah. And it was also my favorite location's food. Although, I guess, that being said, I didn't really eat at many of these places. Oh, Sidebar. I ate at Sidebar.
We did eat at
And
Sidebar.
that's probably it. But the food was so good and it's so beautiful because it's this old warship in Philly and it's so beautifully redone. It just, that's where I think it's cool that the podcast takes us to these unique locations. I grew up near Philly. I had never heard of the Mashulu. I didn't know that it was a restaurant. You can rent it out for events. And because of the podcast, I went and got brunch there. Had an incredible brunch. The power did go out while I was there, but had an incredible brunch regardless and learned the history of it. So, yeah, that's probably the prettiest place I've been this season.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was definitely my favorite spot because it was so pretty too. Brunch was so good there.
you were on boys trip. So
I
you
was
can't be
like, didn't
mad. You
you
were on
not
boys
go?
trip.
Yeah, no, I didn't go at all. I was not there.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you guys what the prettiest place for you guys was, but David, I'm guessing it's somewhere in Texas.
It was
And
indeed.
and then the rest of it's not very pretty stuff.
Yeah. I guess interesting Harold's Haunt.
Wow, way to
Yeah, that's
offend
true.
three different universities.
Well, like they're pretty, but pretty is not the word that you think of when you think of an academic institution. Like the Mashulu is designed for special events and stuff. And some of these old hotels in Texas were like beautifully designed.
Yeah, a lot of white marble.
Yeah. Well, that's a wrap on season four. And stay tuned for our season five, which I can't even believe I'm saying, opener, which is going to be where the three of us, sit down and discuss the Grand Midway Hotel, our overnight investigation, anything that we experienced. We slept in the Frankenstein room. Erica slept in the vampire suite. So we will tell you more about those rooms and the hotel on that episode. But thank you for listening. And if you have somewhere you want us to cover, please let us know on social media. Like I said, we do make a list of those places. And tune in next week for season five of Paranormal in Pennsylvania. Stay spooky, my friends.
Okay.